Hello, I'd like also to compliment all the speakers, all the panel members. It has been a pleasure to contact you during the last weeks, and I'm sure that today we will have an interesting conversation among us. Now I will begin the section for the audience. So, hello, good morning, welcome to Safety Footwear Revolution Week. It is a real pleasure and an honor to have you on board. Thank you for the guests that are attending, for the attenders, and also for the speakers. Today, we will focus on the environment revolution. We will talk about materials and product sustainability, about circular economy in footwear, and also about our supply chain. How can we be more transparent? And these are only some of the topics. So please join us during the next 1 hour and a half. I will begin with Carmen Hijosa, the founder of ANANAS ANAM. Carmen, you created a vegan material based in pineapple. How did you have this idea and how did you develop it?
Yes, bon dia, good morning to everyone, and thank you for inviting me. Interesting thing to really think how a new material comes into becoming. Just to tell you that my background, in the 90s, I had a company manufacturing leather goods in Ireland. So leather was my expertise. And then because of that, I started to do consultancy work in different parts of the world. And that really brought me into the reality of what a material is about, because I had to find new ways to do things, to find materials, how to make them. So sustainability became really a very important thing for me personally. So in the Philippines, I found out that leather, it really has very bad environmental footprint. It was quite shocking for me to really see what's happening, also socially, to see the people, and it was really so important for me to see this reality that I said I will not work with leather anymore, though I had been working for 15 years with leather. I had no alternative, but I had an idea, because when I go to a country, I look what the country has to offer, and they've got very many natural fibers. And through research and development, which took about more than 10 years, I discovered, the Philippines knew about this pineapple leaf fiber for many, many years, that this material can be, this fiber, because it's very strong, but it's very flexible and very fine. I can make it into a mesh, not unlike what leather is, actually. And that really brought me into doing a PhD in Royal College of Art in London, plus Imperial as well. And I think the important thing of a new material is that it really comes at the intersection of different industries. You know, I had to work with people from industry, from people from the textile industry, from science, from design, innovation. And the life cycle came about from all this mingling of knowledge and experience. And I think this is really very important when you develop materials, you know, to really be at that intersection and to listen to everybody.
Okay, thank you so much, Carmen, for this introduction. You mentioned leather, and so this is the word for me to invite Gustavo Gonzalez-Quijano from COTANCE, that is the European Leather Confederation. Traditionally, leather is used in footwear, is associated to fit, to comfort, to luxury, but there are new challenges, and you mentioned some of them. I would like to ask Gustavo, can you please comment on this somehow, and also about emerging trends in leather, like origin, traceability, and authenticity. What is COTANCE doing in this regard?
Yes, well, thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you for inviting me to the channel. I think it is a very important thing to have these events that are speaking about the different materials. Well, first, there is not enough leather in the world for covering all the needs for this material. So it's very important that one understands that The tanning sector is a recycling sector, and that is maybe the reason why in certain countries it is not really very nice to see. Yes, there is still a lot of things that the leather industry as a whole, as a sector, needs to do in order to improve the image of the industry. But of course, the industry in Europe and in most developed countries is really working at a very high level of environmental performance, and I think that is what these industries and our industries need to teach the way to the others in order to achieve as well a level of environmental credentials that can stand it. But well, let's come back to the point. Leather is the result of a recycling process. We take the hides and skins of producing animals, and instead of letting them become waste, which would be an environmental damage, we transform them into something that is beautiful, that has an appeal for everybody, and that goes into the products that we most cherish. You will note that leather is the material that develops your most precious goods, your money on the one hand, but also not only you see it also for your mobile phone, for all the most important things. And that's really the idea. What we need to achieve is to improve even more the possibility of recycling all of the residues that the tanning process produces. We have done already quite a lot with the splits that go either to suedes or to the gelatin sector in the food sector. So before it is tanned and becomes leather, the hair that is recovered from the skins is recycled into an organic fertilizer. We produce also with the fleshings of the skins a biodiesel. So there is a lot of things that we are already doing, but there is still a lot of things to do.
Thank you, Gustavo. So now we have been talking about materials, mainly for the upper part of the footwear. And we have with us Felix it is the Marketing Director of Footwear, Sports and Leisure at the BASF, that is a leading polyurethane supplier for the footwear industry. So Felix, good morning. What is BASF doing for sustainability, and how do you prioritize the sustainability trends at BASF?
Thank you, Maria José, for the invitation and for the introduction. Yes, so BASF, we are one of the main suppliers for also the footwear industry, for mainly the bottom part, so the soling part, not only. And what we do to further develop in terms of sustainability is that we use the conversation with our partners, so meaning with our customers, meaning footwear producers, but also outside, like we do today. We have different parties here, we have NGOs, we have other authorities, and all these things let's say collected and analyzed, be it on a corporate level, but also on my level, which is, I would say, a working level, because I'm acting here in the footwear industry. At the moment, I have to admit, we have day by day, we have requests and discussions with our customers. They are asking, okay, what can we do to make the footwear and the footwear materials more sustainable? And it is our role, let's say, to take all these requests. So we do not have a fixed answer on that, because there are different routes. We talk about sustainability and circular economy. This is not the only answer. Yeah, it's not only to make the materials, let's say, bio-based, but there are different alternatives, and these we want to fine-tune, and together with all our partners, to see what is the right answer, or maybe a combination of different concepts.
Okay, thank you so much. Now I will introduce Angela Morgado. She is the Executive Director of a well-known NGO. Angela, hello. Can you please let us know more about your work and about the health of our planet?
Hello, Maria José. Thank you for inviting me to this panel. I want to greet you all, my colleagues, and I want to thank Albano and Orlando for organizing this event, which I think it's very important, because the state of our planet is really not good status. The health of our planet is the planet is dying. In the last 50 years, as a result of the destruction of nature, all the mammals, populations of mammals, birds, amphibians, reptiles, and fish have declined 70% in less than 50 years. And this is also in the basis of the appearance of this COVID-19 pandemic, according to WWF. So I work for the Global Conservation Organization, WWF, and every 2 years we publish a publication that we call the Living Planet Report to know the health of our planet. And the health of our planet is not good. So we really we cannot ignore the evidence that there is a severe decline in wildlife, nature is disappearing with serious consequences for our health and for the health of all the ecosystems. Our planet is sending us all a warning, and mostly we say that sustainability is very important to discuss, but now it's the time to act. It's not the time of discussions anymore. And the industry plays a role. Everybody plays a role, and the companies and the industry play a role on how to act. How can we change this? How can we, again, make our planet a good place to live? How can we leave a better planet to our children, the future generations? So we say that we have to have a new deal for nature and people, and that we all have a role to play in this, achieving this new deal for nature and people. We required zero extinction of habitats, zero extinction of species, and we require to turn to decrease in 50% the unsustainable production and the unsustainable consumption. So we all that are in this panel are responsible because we are consumers, but you because you are in an industry. So that's it. We all have to act for a new deal for nature and people.
Thank you, Angela. And I can reassure that we are working very hard, the whole industry in Europe, in Portugal, in the world, to this end. And we have within our panel the speakers that will really show us how they are doing and how we can do more in the future. And also, and I would like now to introduce the fifth speaker, this Adriana. She's already acting, not words. She's on the field. She's producing footwear. She was one of the first to think about, for example, collecting plastics from the oceans. She's the founder of the footwear brand ZOURI. So, Adriana, can you please let us know more about you, about ZOURI, and also how can we make footwear more sustainable, namely sustainable by design, where everything begins?
Hi, thank you so much for the invitation, and I say hello to all my colleagues. So, starting with ZOURI. So ZOURI appeared in my life as a lack of meaning in my work. So I wanted to, I love footwear, I loved my work, but I was missing the purpose, the working for a better world. How can we do footwear and help the planet and create a different behavior on people every day, inspire others to do the same or something similar. So it was kind of an innovative idea. It was kind of people that are technicians in footwear will agree with me that basically we are placing waste from the ocean inside our outsoles. So we are just mixing plastic with rubber. So it's not like a Nobel Prize or something. It's something very simple to do. When people ask me, how did you have that idea? Because I was looking all the time, how can I do something that has a good impact? So sometimes ideas, you don't need to invent the wheel. You just have to keep looking for new ideas that can save the planet or help. So we had this conversation before this meeting, me and Maria José, to prepare this meeting. And for me, in the beginning, the challenge was the plastic, how to connect with the NGOs and schools to collect the plastic. How can we do this efficiently and financially sustainable? Because when you do a cleanup action, you don't know the amount of plastic you are going to collect, how many people is going to appear, the cost of transport. So how can we industrialize this? I thought it was the biggest challenge. And in the end, when we built this part of the project, the most difficult part was the materials for the upper part. Was, okay, I don't want, but the ZOURI is a vegan brand, so because of the impact, like Felix, I think I'm saying the colleague from the leather field is Felix? No. Gustavo told us leather is not enough we need other materials to offer shoes to everyone. So we have the other part also that for us, ZOURI, the production of meat that is in high level, we want to push that down also because of the part of the impact to the forests and so on. So we wanted to create a vegan brand. So when we get to the part of the upper, it was very challenging because to find the material that is sustainable but presents resistance, durability, waterproof or water resistance is very difficult. When you think about summer and spring, you can use natural fibers such as organic cotton, hemp, linen. It's not a problem. But when you face the winter, the alternatives to leather always have polyurethane in the middle, always have something to give the resistance and the water resistance that we need for winter. So that was the most stressing part of the project. And I think I really believe in technology. So I think it's very important to say to people that we don't have all the answers. We are working to have more answers, but we must be true and be transparent. This is what we have. We should not hide. My shoe is not 100% sustainable. I have to use glue. I have to use materials that have plastic inside. Otherwise, it won't be resistant or durable, and that is not sustainable also. And you have to offer, like you said, Maria José, you have to offer an experience of design and comfort. And if you want to have comfort, if you do a shoe that is full rubber, it's too heavy. So we have to manage all this together. And I see it, to finish, I see it as this. We have to go step by step. It's impossible to change everything in one step. And it will be a crisis, economic crisis and social crisis, if we change everything in one step. So even if it was possible, it's my vision. So we have to see it clearly and be transparent to customers, to end users, so they know what they are buying and the effort that is behind what they are buying. And I really believe that is technology in terms of materials like Pinatex. That is a great material. And it was the first material we used in ZOURI was Pinatex. And we are still, until now, is one of our best sellers. I really admire Carmen, because when you create something new, it's much more harder than when you use leather or something that already was tested and certified. So you are trying to do something new, and it's very hard. So I congratulate Carmen also. So ZOURI is about a little bit this dream of creating the most sustainable shoe, produced locally and with the most transparency possible message for the customer.
Thank you, Adriana. You mentioned a lot of topics that we will go in detail, I think, during this conversation. Thank you so much for this big introduction. And I will take your words and pass again the word to Carmen and ask you about Pinatex. So you have this new material, it's bio-based. Can you please comment which type of footwear do we apply Pinatex? We have in the audience a lot of safety footwear manufacturers. So what would you advise that regarding the application of Pinatex in footwear and specifically in safety footwear?
Yes, that's a good question. And thank you, Adriana, and hi again. Good to see you there. I think Pinatex, let me go back to Pinatex. Every time we get a batch of Pinatex, it goes to tests, right? Now we've got basic tests like maybe the tear, the tensile, the flexing, the rubbing as well. But it needs specific tests for each market. And the shoe is not the most stringent, but it is in apparel. We think the shoe is part of what we wear ourselves. I mean, if we think about the car industry, that's even higher, right? But as of today, Pinatex works well on most shoes, except as of today, 2020, high performance, in fact. And we're still not good enough in flexing and rubbing for sports shoes, for example, running shoes, or climbing or walking heavy duty shoes as well. Why? Because we haven't got there yet. It's exactly what happens when you develop a new material, and it's always the balance between how transparent, sustainable it can be, but it needs to perform as well. This is absolutely basic. Otherwise, there's no point to have a new material. It's a waste, right? So slowly, we're getting better all the time. And the way this works, and it works very well, is collaborating. We are got over 2,000 clients today. We are not a very old company, but really it's working with clients, particularly in the shoe industry. They're very good, and it takes a long time. You know, they send us pages of tests that they have to do, but they work with us. And that is the way we can actually improve it, by working in close collaboration with our clients. And they say, okay, this test is, we need to do something. Sometimes we develop things with them to make it better. And this is the way we can improve it all the time, in this close collaboration.
Thank you so much. And Carmen, what about availability? Do you have the necessary material, the quantities necessary to supply well, to be supplied to our industry? Because as Gustavo was saying, leather could not supply all the footwear requirements and all footwear needs in terms of quantity. And what about Pinatex? What is the situation nowadays?
Well, today we are actually taking orders for next spring, because we do not have enough material, but that is a good thing for us.
Yes.
It's just that most people are looking for this kind of material, right? Yes. But the reality also is that, as you were saying, leather is a very old industry. It's been there forever, in a way, right?
Yes.
Our little industry is very young, and the supply chain, we are actually scaling it and fine-tuning it as we go. So we can say that from last year to this year, we have increased double the volume of our raw material, and we will go on increasing it, because this is what we're doing in our supply chain. We are preparing for more volume all the time. So for us, it's really a matter of systems and processes, and basically working with all our partners in the supply chain, and we can have more material, no problem.
Perfect, very good, perfect. Gustavo, we heard about Adriana talking regarding leather. We know that in the past we had mainly chromium and vegetable tanned leather. Now we have more alternatives. And which are the most sustainable solutions, and how do you measure sustainability? Can you please comment on this?
Yes, of course. But let me first say that again, that we are, leather is really a very old material. It comes from prehistoric times, but and there is absolutely no cow, no sheep, no goat that is killed for making leather. So it is a recycling sector. We take the residue of the meat industry and we transform it into leather. Now, you asked me what is the most sustainable product. We have produced in a Commission initiative that started in 2011 until 2018, a product environmental footprint category rules in order to understand where we should put our emphasis in order to improve the environmental credentials of our producers. And what has become quite clear about when we made this voting studies and this analysis is that there is no tanning technique that is better than another. So chromium has its merit, mineral tanning, this is chromium, vegetable tanning like with tara or with chestnuts and other vegetable materials, or synthetic tanning. They have all their merits and they are more or less equivalent, because when you have an improvement on one environmental parameter, like for instance, I don't know, the phase of the water phases, you have disadvantages in other phases, for instance, in water treatment. So you cannot say that one tanning method is better than another, and therefore all are very valid from themselves. What is very interesting to say is that what the tanning industry in Europe has achieved is to reduce the chemical consumption. Every square meter of tanning has only 2 kilograms of chemicals in it. So that is what needs to be taken into consideration, and that also all the water treatment processes reduce 80 to 95% of all pollutants that are in the water. So that's quite important. And we will have a conference on the 1st of December, to which everybody is invited, of course, where we're going to present the social and environmental report of the European leather industry, where we're going to see what is the progress that we have achieved from 2012, when the first report has been issued, to now.
Thank you, Gustavo. Very clear. Now, Felix, and what about BASF? Sustainability and footwear, which materials do you have, what are the news, and how you measure sustainability in your case?
Yeah, thanks, Maria Jose again. How we measure, yes, this is here we have in our organization quite a long history. We already started more than 20 years ago to find out how can we assess sustainability by what was called an eco-efficiency analysis. Nowadays we talk about life cycle analysis, and just lately BASF has started an initiative this year. Our target is to measure the product carbon footprint of our product portfolio, which amounts to, not only for footwear, which amounts to more than 40,000 products. So, and this goes along with our strategic target that BASF wants to achieve carbon neutral growth in 10 years. So as you can see, so the CO2 emission reduction is one of the areas where we look at. And I also agree to the others that there is not just one solution, and you cannot ultimately say which is better. But with this calculation, of course, we can compare CO2 footprint, and then we can compare other directions. Yeah, because there is, for example, if you talk about recycling, we already have projects where we did mechanical recycling of the footwear. Means that we recycle the complete footwear and make new footwear out of it. The development was quite challenging because in the end you have to design the footwear for the recycling, because we have to consider that it's quite difficult to recycle a traditional footwear because there are a lot of materials included, and you cannot just recycle it completely. So if you design a new footwear, you have to think about to reduce the number of materials that you use. And our project, what I'm talking about, is a project where we just used one material class, thermoplastic polyurethane for the bottom and the upper totally, and then we would be able to completely collect it, regrind it, and use it back in footwear. This is quite challenging, as you will find out, but it works. Yeah. On the other hand, you will rightfully say there is a lot of waste that we see on our planet that is really mixed waste, because really the challenge what I see for recycling is to get the logistics, like the sorting and the selection of the materials rightfully done. And here also we have another direction, for example, where we take mixed plastic waste back and use a thermochemical process to make feedstock out of it. And with this feedstock, we can replace fossil feedstock in our chemical plant at the very beginning. And by this way, we in the end go through the chemical value chain and end up with a new, for example, polyurethane for footwear, which is then has an allocation of this recycled material. This is I wouldn't say it's an alternative to mechanical recycling. It's just a different complementary approach, because we cannot have all footwear in the future mechanically recycled. I think these logistics we cannot set up.
Yes.
We have to think in different directions, and these directions we are working on. And the discussions we have with our customers are quite promising in footwear, but also in other industries on this.
Thank you so much, Felix. You introduced the circular economy topic. We will return to this topic, but by now I will take also the words that you mentioned regarding design, because everything begins in the design. So, Adriana, how can we make footwear most sustainable, namely from design? Felix was talking about minimal different materials, but there are other approaches. Can you please elaborate? What are you doing regarding design for sustainability?
The first step in my vision is to create intemporal models. So you are not a follower of new trends that passes in 6 months or 1 year. In our case, we try to create classic styles that you can wear now or in 10 years. So we'll go for slow fashion. I think the design thinking of the footwear and fashion in general, we have to change this shift. That is, people are very used to buy shoes, give you an idea, that they're not so expensive, because they also know that next year the trends are different, so I don't need to spend so much money with shoes because next year I want to wear what is on trend. So why should I invest in something is more sustainable, so it's more expensive, because next year is out of fashion. So the first step is to create, like I said before, for me, is we have to change behaviors. We have to change the way people see. If you don't have the consumer on your side, we all can do a huge effort, but in the end, people are asking for new fashion, new trends, and don't care about recycling the shoes they want. So we have to convince people to join us. So in design, we go first step, minimal design and intemporal design. That is the most important. Then, for me, is also another point that I think is very important. When you think the design is also about the materials, for me. For ZOURI, it's all about materials, to be honest, because we choose classical styles, we give it like a little touch, and then we use materials as a label, as a message. So what my goal and my team goal is to be top of innovation in terms of materials. We have also to tell them, because of my colleague Felix was talking about the difficulty of recycling shoes, and we know that it has a lot of components, so it's very difficult. I'm curious about the project is sharing, but also we can think in circularity out of footwear. So we can link when the shoe is over in the end use, we can introduce that shoe in another industry. For instance, our shoes, when they are over, they are old, our clients send us back the shoes, and when we send the shoes to a partner that is a company that produces urban furniture, and he uses the old shoes to produce this type of construction. So I think we have also to see outside footwear.
Yes.
But design already, that's my answer. Slow fashion and the best sustainable materials.
Thank you so much, Adriana.
Thank you.
And now I would like to hear more about Angela, and you are hearing our colleagues from materials, from footwear. From your side, what would be the main challenge that we face in terms of sustainability in general and in footwear in particular?
So I have been hearing you all with some very good examples in terms of sustainability, in terms of materials, in terms of the circularity of your products. And having said in my previous comment that we face a severe loss of nature and the severe climate change, we are facing climate change effects, I also must say that we still have time to ensure a fair carbon neutral and positive nature. So the message is not all a disaster of what humanity made to this planet. The message is, if we face the challenges all together, if we all play our role, we still can create a positive nature. What would be then your role, the industry role on this transformation to a positive nature, in my view, in WWF's view? We have been partnering with companies for almost 60 years. In the mindset of the NGOs, WWF is the NGO that has developed the partnerships with all types of companies, because we believe that you play a most important role. But our mindset is that it's not all about materials, not all about circularity. It's all about incorporating biodiversity in all the business strategy, in the entire value of your company. How can you do this? You are wondering what is that of incorporating biodiversity in our business strategy. First of all, it's reducing your company's footprint. A colleague already mentioned that also, I think it was Felix that mentioned that they were also working on reducing the company's footprint. This is completely aligned with one of the targets of the New Deal to face this challenge of nature loss and climate change, which is 50% reduction in unsustainable production. The more you reduce your footprint, the more sustainable will be your production. You can reduce the carbon footprint, making efficient use of energy, reducing the fossil energy consumption that we use, betting on renewable energies, with definition of ambitious and measurable goals. This is very important. The key performance indicators for sustainable business strategy. You can reduce the water footprint, the availability of water that you use also in your production, not only the energy and the fossil energy footprint. You can analyze your suppliers. You can choose only to have responsible suppliers. You can involve them in your sustainable strategy. You can educate and raise awareness within your employees. This is very important. You should train your workers for sustainability, for choose environmental friendly products in the company and at home, in their daily, day-by-day life. Spread the message of sustainability as a new trend, the slow fashion message, as Adriana was saying. Educate them for recycle, for minimizing the use of resource plastic, etc. And I think you should invest also in your footprint, the compensation of your footprint. There are a lot of stakeholders that play a big role in transforming nature into a positive nature. There are a lot of projects ongoing in the field where led by stakeholders as NGOs, as WWF, for example, that we have 3,000 active projects all over the world, and some of them in Portugal, by foundations, by other companies. And the word here is to cooperate, to invest, to compensate your footprint in supporting restoration of burned areas, restoration of desertified areas, payment of environmental services, compensate the ones that protect nature. That's the idea of payment of environmental services. Involve and contribute with partners to this positive nature. And I think, of course, supporting the search for solutions that, as you said, looking for new materials, innovating on mixing old materials with new materials. So investing in technological development, IT projects, which will be applicable in your industry, in your way of doing footwear. And I think from what I investigate, there's also some innovative concepts, eco-design, footwear design, but also these footwear as services where you don't own the shoes, you rent the shoes, and then your producer is responsible for the shoes that you use. So the imagination will bring us the right technology, the right innovation, and with that we will make the path to sustainability. And just adding last but not least that this guarantee of the sustainability of your supply chain, the transparency of your supply chain, is you are guaranteeing the human rights and the environmental rights of the places where your raw materials come from. This is very important because we have to see the world, we are all linked. So the much you invest in your sustainability, in the producing by sustainability, much you will guarantee the human rights and the environment of the people in the other side of the world.
Thank you so much, Angela. You introduced a lot of topics. I would like to say at this stage that we are working a lot on the environmental footprint of footwear. At the European level, this is going on. We are participating on this work of developing this environmental footprint for footwear. At the end of the morning, I will give a workshop and I will talk about this and invite everybody to participate in this work and in this project. But from now on, we will move on. This question is for all of you. Is a challenge for Carmen, Felix, Gustavo, and Adriana mainly. in the case of materials, how can your materials contribute or may contribute to decrease the footwear products' environment footprint and make our industry more sustainable? So how this can be done? And is it needed more research in the regard? So maybe I can begin with Carmen regarding this topic. It's just how can Pinatex make footwear footprint lower? And if there is still research going on, and what are your plans in this sense?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Angela. That was really very, very good. This is the way companies, most of them, the ones that I would know, and probably the ones here, they're really thinking comprehensively in the big picture, right? But going back to Pinatex, how can we contribute? Well, Pinatex has very low environmental footprint. This is for a start. I mean, 95% of our material is coming from renewable resources. And this includes valorizing waste. Imagine starting from a material that doesn't need any land, any water, any pesticides, any fertilizers. That's really a plus in environmental credentials. But just to give you some data, according to the Higg Index, which you probably all know about it, it measures the product environmental impact. Pinatex's score is 18, and the lower the score, the better it is in the environmental impact. And it is really pretty low. And this takes into account water usage, carbon footprint, fossil fuel, all the chemicals, et cetera, et cetera. And really, I could give you more data as well. I mean, we have done all the data for the CO2 as well, which maybe I can give it to you if you ask me. But I can really say with great confidence that Pinatex probably has one of the lowest impact in the environment as materials used in the shoe industry. And the good thing of being a material is that we are passing all this to our clients. Our transparency, the lower carbon footprint, this is passed into our clients, meaning that they really benefit from this, not just from the material, but from our credentials, the real credentials, right? Also, our company is B Corp certified, which you probably know what it is about. We are basically taking care of the whole supply chain, all stakeholders. So we're looking into not just environmental responsibility, but the social and cultural responsibility, which I think is really, really important. As Angela was saying, put the full picture there. And so this is really how we are looking into decreasing the environmental footprint in the shoe industry.
Okay, thank you. Gustavo. Now it's your turn. We are talking a lot about footprint. You mentioned that you did the work, but now Carmen introduced the Higgins situation. I'm seeing here also the comments that are coming, and one of the comments from the audience is about this, about Higgins index and leather. So can you please elaborate a little bit, and I will try to mix what I have in mind and also some comments that are arising.
Yes, thank you very much for this. I suppose that this is because there was a quite a lot of topics and discussions about around the Higg index. Indeed, the key issue is you can only improve what you can measure. So it is very important that you have the right metrics, and the right metrics is why for having the right metrics. That is the reason why we made the PFCR for leather, which is which counts 15, 16 now with chemicals as well, impact categories, which is very important because that is really what is going to help footwear manufacturers to understand where the leather is having its better or worse aspects to improve. So it's very important, and which allows then the footwear manufacturer to understand where to source the leather. That is important. The tracing back to know your supplier, trace back to your supplier, and understand what your supplier is doing. That is really the most important thing. And here I can say that that Europe has really something to offer to the world. Now, how do we as tanners provide support to the footwear sector in order to improve? First, the most important thing is that leather is a very durable material, and we are working together in order to make that this concept comes true. Because when you look at the materials from if you look at the Higg index or any other index, any material sustainability index, you see only one picture. What is happening at a certain point in time, but you don't see what is the impact of the product that you're going to produce at the end of life. What is happening at the end of life? And that is really important. How long is the life of the product that you're going to produce? And leather has there very, very good credentials. And what is going to happen at the end of life of this product? What can you do with this? And leather, real leather, can biodegrade. And we are trying our best to make it most biodegradable. So to improve the chemicals that we are using, to use less toxic chemicals and use better biological chemicals that we are putting into the leather industry. So durability, end of life, and carbon neutrality was mentioned earlier. Well, here there is another, and metrics, of course. There is one thing that needs to be said, that the way that the carbon cycle is measured in life cycle assessment does not take into account the methane carbon cycle, which is much, it is, of course, it has much more warming potential, but it degrades very rapidly. It is a very low cycle, short cycle. Therefore, it does not remain in the ambient. It does not remain in the air like other carbon emissions that remain in the air for thousands of years. So the methane cycle of the cows are really a short cycle that has an impact for the products that you're going to have on the market. So take leather, it's a good choice. You will enjoy it for a long time.
Thank you, Gustavo. Yes, you touched a very important point. It's not just about calculation footprint, it's also to, let's say, make some ratios regarding durability, because if the material lasts twice, the footprint will be lower, half. So this is a very, very important topic. And now I would like to ask Felix, because really sustainability is environmental aspects, but also is a very important value for the consumer, is fit, is performance, and is also durability. So what is BASF doing in this regard? What are the new materials? Are they bio-based? Because we also have the oil issues. So are there bio-based? So what could you let us know about your new materials?
Okay, thank you. As already mentioned, BASF working in, let's say, all directions that could pave the way in the direction of circular economy. And I mentioned the recycling part. Now, if we talk about renewable materials, we have in our portfolio materials that are bio-based, so that are dedicated products using renewables. This is a concept. There are also, again, other concepts which you cannot just say better than the other, but they are different and they're using different concepts. That we set up our chemical plants in this way that they can use bio feedstock at the very beginning. This makes a much more flexibility because the production is not dedicated. And secondly, you can even use bio waste, so organic waste products, in contradiction to bio feedstocks that you still have to consider that the sources are generated from plants that they use water and land. On the other hand, those concepts have a considerable contribution to the CO2 footprint and the reduction of CO2. That's definitely. In general, as we are working with all segments in footwear and talking to our customers, I have to say that we are not only looking on making the footwear more sustainable and maybe compromise on something else. In my opinion, this does not really work, at least not in the long run, because if the best example probably is a safety shoe, and in the audience you have here a lot of experts on safety shoes. They will probably say, okay, we want to have a more sustainable safety shoe, but nobody will compromise on the safety of the shoe, or the durability of the shoe, or the comfort of the shoe. That's why our target is, and maybe this is a step-by-step approach and will take longer, but our approach is to look for sustainable materials and performance materials and more durable materials and safe materials. This is our strategy and our target. And by the way, later on this morning during my pitch, I will give a detailed insight in the different concepts. So if you are a little bit patient, you can dig into these details.
Thank you so much, Felix. And now I will give the word again to Adriana. So you talked about a lot of things and some more about research of new materials. You talk a lot also about how important is the transparency and traceability on the supply chain. And can you please further elaborate this regarding what we are now discussing? Thank you.
So I wanted to say that I completely agree with my colleague that was talking about biodiversity. So we need a lot of materials, we need a lot of brands, suppliers, everyone focus on the same direction. What we try to join is that is very difficult but challenging, and we love it, is to create the most comfortable shoe, technical part perfect, and more sustainable. But the sustainability part, we play different indicators. One, location of the production. So we produce all our shoes in Portugal. The location of all our suppliers regarding materials. I'm going to give an example. We buy our organic cotton to a German company that has 2 certifications of fair trade: transformation and plantation. So they are the owners in Kazakhstan of the plantation that is certified fair trade, and they are the owners of transformation that are certified fair trade. That gives us the, I don't know any company that is doing the same. So I was trying to find better price, but I didn't find any company that can offer the same. But what I'm saying is, what we do, we dig, trying to find the best supplier in terms of fair trade and sustainability in terms of the impact to the planet. Because it's no use that you are protecting the ocean if you are hurting people on the other side of the world. So it has to be holistic. Otherwise, you're not doing good. So, of course, I also agree with my colleague that it has to be internal. If team that feels that lives like that, you won't happen in the product. So we have to, like I said before, because it's my vision, it's all about society and inspire others. So the company inspired the clients, but also inspired the workers, the suppliers, and you want to connect that with the ones that are more sustainable. Happily, sustainability now is a trend. So even those that said, oh no, this is a trend, this will pass, I don't have to do it, they are completely now convinced they have to go for it. either they believe it or not, they have to go, or they will be out of the game in the future. And I'm going to give an example to finish in first hand. We are a very small brand. We have less than 2 years. Next year, we'll present a partnership with a big American brand. And that is just possible because we do it so in a way that is so, because we are not big. Maybe in Portugal, people know us very well, but outside Portugal, people don't know us. Maybe in the footwear area, they know us, but not common people. This happened because they look at the project. It wasn't because the shoe has a great design. It wasn't because it's produced in Portugal. It is all about the diversity that it joins. So we are collecting the plastic locally. We are producing locally. We are checking all our suppliers until the plantation, until the transformation, where it comes from, the impact of the transport, everything. And more than that, I really believe that in the future, companies won't be profit focused. They will be impact focused, because we all will be companies that will have to prove impact in society. So when we will have to have social programs inside for the community, everyone will have to do a part that is not to do with their product or the main role as a company, as a profit. So I think they like us also because we have our awareness program. We visit already 52 schools in Portugal. So our focus is to grow the impact as well as we grow the profit. So for us, we have to grow both. That's why we are creating an NGO as well to push our impact. And to tell you, the brand I can share is O'Neill, and we will have a collaboration next year for next winter. And what we try to push, and also we have this power, BASF and other colleagues that are big, we have the power to push others to be more sustainable. When they came and said, oh, we want to do a collaboration, I put some points that were kind of, if we don't do it like this, it's not possible. First point, location of the production. It has to be local. If you are going to deliver to Europe, you have to produce in Europe. Second point, the materials. We have to track the materials, sustainability of the materials, which materials we are going to use in the shoes. And the factories in Portugal, I said Portugal because Portugal, Spain, we have human rights valid and so on, but the part of the fair trade and the human rights included. So we have this power, and BASF is much bigger than ZOURI. If we want, we can push others because they want the best material you have. Okay, you want this best material, you have to improve also with us your part. So to push, and this is an impact project. You are creating impact, not only creating new products. You are generating change in others because you push them. That's my vision. That's my profit if I conquer that. And I think in the future, deeply, Maria José, those are the ones that will be the biggest companies, is the impact ones like Pinatex and others.
Thank you so much. I completely agree with you. And we are very well prepared here in Portugal because we have the manufacturers of materials, the manufacturers of footwear. We are going sustainable. We are already sustainable, and we are betting for the future, so we can give a good contribution, and you are a good representative of what we are doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to ask another comment from Angela regarding these topics. How could you please give us more insights towards our sustainability?
So I believe Adriana said something that is very important, which is the power of inspiring the others.
Yes.
And the impact that you have. So I believe that protecting nature, it's protecting human rights, it's protecting the economy, it's protecting our health, it's protecting our food. So everything is based on nature. So as much as you walk the path of sustainability, as much as you inspire the others. And I used to say that it's not about big steps. So every step is important. And if you pass the message to the others that by doing simple things, you will impact positively the nature and the planet and inspire other people to act, I think it's very important. So that leads me to a last point where I see that industry and companies are responsible, which is they have a responsible way because of their outreach. They communicate to a lot of people. They can inspire people. They can be the wheels of this changing process. And that is related to the communications that you do on what you protect, the nature that you are protecting. And then only with that power of outreach, you will also be a part of this transformational New Deal. I think only then, when we will all inspire the people, we'll be able to halt and begin to reverse the loss of biodiversity and put nature in the center of our lives and in the road to recovery for the benefit of all, of human rights, of health, of economy, of everything. So I think to finish, I think in the coming months, we have a great opportunity to design this new deal for nature and people, a new path for biodiversity, because as you know, Portugal will receive the presidency of the European Council. So in our council, the Convention for the Biological Biodiversity will be a part of our presidency. And so if every one of us shouts during the 6 first months of 2021 what we are doing in our business, in our lives, I think we will create this link, this wave to transform our lives, our nature, and to have a more fair economic, because if we are not protecting nature, the differences between people will be very, very visible. If we protect nature, if we believe in sustainability and we act within the limits of sustainability, we will have a more fair economy to all.
Thank you so much, Angela. I think really these are the paths to the future, and we want to construct a better future for all, for life in Earth. Thank you so much for these last comments. And now I will pass to the other 4 colleagues for last comments. And I would like to introduce just if you could also mention we already talked about bio-based materials, about sustainability, product footprint, measure, and so on. But we need to go back a little bit to the circular economy. We talked about design for circularity, and regarding these materials, recycling, we didn't went so profoundly. So our industry is moving now to circular economy. How can these materials, how can footwear, how can we go in this direction? What contribution can be given? And also I'd like to ask you to talk a little bit about the value chain, the transparency in the value chain, and to make your end comments. Thank you so much. I will begin with Carmen. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It really is very inspiring. I'm very happy to be here, listening to everybody. And going back to circular economy, maybe I can start with saying that Pinatex is very much part of the circular economy. I mean, it already comes from a waste material. As I said, we don't really need to use any land, water, etc. So it's already contributing to the circular economy. But if I give you some, again, a little bit of data to make this a bit more real, the fibers that we use, they are coming from a waste material, and then extracting that, valorizing waste. Once with the fibers, we've got a second valorization stage, which is the biomass which is left behind. And again, to give you some data, this year, 2020, we will have about, from the fiber extraction, over 1,000 tons plus of this biomass. Now, this biomass can be converted into compost and or organic fertilizer. And this is a very easy process. Some of the farms, they just basically mix it with other waste and using vermicomposting, and they have organic fertilizer, which is the most expensive thing a farmer, pineapple farmer, needs to buy. So that's really double valorizing waste, and this closes fully the circle in the agricultural side. And again, where we are going is by 2023, we will have enough biomass to produce energy profitably. Now imagine what that really means. So at source, they will have everything from waste. And I think this is the way we look at circular economy, and we are working towards that. I think the other way of looking at circular economy is really, in our case, is Pinatex is 90% biodegradable already, though we are performing tests that they will be here next year to really give it the right data, because as we know, there are different benchmarks, etc., to understand that. But I think it's important to understand that recyclability that we discussed a little bit is really a big part of circular economy. And for us, it's not so much recycling, but upcycling, which I think is, Adriana was talking about that already. How do we upcycle a material? And we are working on that. Obviously, again, we need collaboration with our clients, which for us are basically partners as well in all this vision. But also recyclability and circular economy is very much a design issue, and we touched on that. My background is designing, and to me, design for disassembly is absolutely key to become, for a product to become part of the circular economy. Also, this is what we, as a material manufacturer, can pass on to our clients. And because we are B Corp certified, I would like to add, particularly thinking what Andrea was saying, that people and planet, this is really together, we cannot just think about a material. For us, the well-being of our farming communities, how to really give fair wages, gender equality, how can we improve their lives? And this is really important. And for example, for next year, I'm starting actively to develop more the social and cultural side of Pinatex, which goes very much what Adriana was saying. A product is not just about a product. A product is the responsibility of what it does in the world, right? So it's about education. We already have a part of our programs is about helping students. I give a lot of school talks, workshops, because children are the future. So how do we look after this? What can we give them from our side? How can we really show them how to imagine a better world? Oh, we can use this fiber, we can use this. This is really very important for us to pass on our knowledge. And I think all this is very much part of what we as companies have to give back into the world.
Thank you so much, Carmen. Thank you. Yes, and I would like to pass to Felix. And we were talking about the circular economy, closing the footwear cycle at the end of its life cycle, and also other topics that you'd like to add, please.
Yes, so, okay, of course, circular economy is really a broad concept. If we limit it to the recycling, I already mentioned that there are different concepts, mechanical, and it was mentioned that the design to recycle is one key, and this is not our expertise. We have the material expertise, and here you already see the key of all these concepts is a cooperation. Yeah, you need a cooperation. We want to close the loop, and we need a lot of partners that have a specific role loop to perform. For example, we do currently, or in the last years, we did a lot of investments in those recycling technology. We did it not on the own, because, for example, we are not an expert in collection and recycling. We are then the expert in taking back these residuals into our production. And this is really the key to set up this close cooperation and to develop these technologies so that you then step by step close the loop and find a way then to bring this into a new footwear and to a new footwear design, and then also cooperation also in the way of the consumer, of course, to maybe apply for rethinking of the consumer, to look for those solutions, and also to support so the collection and reusing of these recycled materials. And again, so we see our role here to invest in different directions and also to contribute. For example, we were the founding member in an alliance to end plastic waste. This is an alliance, a worldwide alliance of 50 companies, and in the next years there will be 1.5 billion euros to be invested in different areas. For example, for the collection of waste, specifically in Africa and Asia. So this is something which we support, which is not our expertise, but we also see our role here to connect, to support these technologies in order to then allow us to have this circular economy, this kind of loop in different ways, but to step by step develop in these directions.
Thank you so much, Felix. Yes, collaboration is essential, research and all this working together. And here in Portugal, we are doing a lot in this sense. We have a sustainability plan for the footwear cluster going on, and we are trying to do this kind of closing the loop here in Portugal and in Europe, and would be pleased to collaborate with all of you. And now I'll go to Gustavo to some comments and final comment. Thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. On the circular economy, I think, well, leather is really the oldest, I would say, the oldest circular product or circular economy product that you can find, because actually it is the transformation, the cultural transformation from a residue that you have after having hunted the animals into something that becomes culture. Well, you have used it in totems, in musical instruments, in all the instruments, in all the elements that make our culture. That's where leather has been used. Well, and if you look at it from current perspective, you have today in the world, if you look only at bovine hides, 7 million tons of bovine hides that are produced. And you have two choices, because we eat the meat. Huh? So you can waste them or you can use them. What is the best option for the planet? That's very important. If we don't use them, any other material that has been produced ex professo would have to see how to manage this waste. Huh? So this is something that we need to have. We need to have in mind. There is also something that is very important, and I think Angela was very right. We have all a very important and responsibility in what we say, how we convey information. That is why metrics is important, but also how we communicate these metrics to the people. And here, this is why also the Commission is looking into the environmental claims issue. The other day, I've heard a presentation where a study that has been made for the European Commission has revealed that in a survey of 1,500, 1,600 tests that they have done, they have found, they have concentrated on environmental claims, of course, and on this 1,600, they have then looked at more closely at 150 environmental claims, websites, etc. And they have found that 80 out of this 150 claim sites or products convey misleading environmental claims. So there is the information that goes to the consumer, that goes to the citizen, is wrong. It's simply wrong. Either these are false, vague, misleading information that is conveyed to the consumer, to the citizen, and this is something that the Commission is going to curb down, because it's very important that we ensure that the citizen, that the consumer has the right tools to make good choices, correct choices, because we need to improve the situation. We need to make sure that the planet survives, as Angela has very rightly said, that it is in danger. We need to ensure that it goes into the right direction. And that is why it is very important that we communicate every material on its own merits. We should not play one material against the other, which is wrong, which is absolutely wrong. Because first, it's going to be banned, probably next time, very soon. And secondly, every material has its merit. Yes. So there is not enough material for serving all the needs of this planet. So we need to ensure that we make the best products, the best materials, and that we promote it on its own merits, not one against the other. That's my last point.
Thank you so much, Gustavo. And now, Adriana, I would like you to please make your final remark now. Then we will have some questions from the audience that I'm trying to join, and try to make just one or two questions that I will address to you all. But now, please, your final comment for the moment. You are without the microphone, Adriana.
My last comment was kind of a final comment, but I will add some notes. I think another thing that we can do for circular economy, sustainability, is when to go deeper in the inspiration part with the young people and students, design students, engineering students, is if you have innovation inside your company, sustainability connected with innovation, you should share, I know we have big agendas. It's so difficult to have time for everything, but we have to do an extra effort to connect with universities and schools. And give you an idea, I have to do a briefing today to present tomorrow to a master class in design. And the goal is they will develop a product with the technology or the ideas ZOURI has in the outsole. So they can present whatever they want in terms of product with this idea. And in the end, so we can use, what I'm trying to say is very interesting, because we have a lot of young people, young designers and engineers that want to do something for the planet, but they don't know how to do it. So if companies connect with universities, with master degrees, it's a channel that they can present their ideas with the support that with the ones that are doing, because out of the academic world. So I think it's one of the things also that we can do for circular economy is to support these young students with our knowledge and conditions and factories, so they can do, and it's not just a dream on a paper.
Yes, thank you so much. We talked about many subjects. We know that we are doing a lot already. We have a lot to do. We are committed to together accomplish these targets and goals. And research, we didn't have the time to go further on that. It's very important, and we are all doing many things. Maybe in the next conversation we can explore a little bit some of this. I will now introduce very shortly some of the questions, and one is if cork is a material to have in mind in the future of shoes. Yes, of course, cork is a material. I tried to join some of the questions that regard to safety shoes, and they're asking, do you think the environment purpose matter to the client when choosing their safety shoes, and also if the new sustainable material trends will affect safety shoes. We will have some talks about sustainable shoes today and safety footwear at the end of the morning, but maybe I will ask Adriana, because you are the shoe manufacturer, the shoe representative here, and you have been working in the safety footwear industry. Do you think environment purpose really matter in terms of safety shoes, and that these new materials, meaning the leather, the polyurethane, and also Pinatex and so on, can be used in safety shoe industry? And this is my final question.
So, yes, I worked in the safety shoe area for 5 years or 6. And the great challenge with the safety shoes is the certification and the performance of the materials that we cannot say we can accept. They have to pass in tests. But I do believe people that wear safety shoes also are concerned about the environment and sustainability. So maybe it's true that most of the safety shoes are bought by companies, and the price is always an important point when they are buying, but it's a step by step, like I said. And you have a good example. AMF launched 2 years ago. We think that is the first collection of a safety shoe collection, sustainable safety shoe collection, produced 100% in Portugal. The leather is also from European leather certified, using a synthetic material made with recycled PET, also global standards certified. So it's possible. I think it's affordable also. So and they are selling. So you have the needs and you have the sales that to prove that it's possible and is the way.
Thank you so much. There are many other things to talk and discuss in this broad subject. It is environment revolution and sustainability. We need to end for the moment. I would like very much to thank all the speakers. It was a real pleasure, and it was very profitable to be here with you. I'd like also to thank all the guests, all the attendants of the Safety Footwear Revolution. And now I would like also to give you some information. Please don't leave your PCs. We have a lot of things still fantastic that will go on. For example, next, a pitch on the cactus is green, so it is the future, by Deserto. Then we will have again Felix in a pitch, sustainable materials for the footwear industry. Then natural fibers and ecological processes. This will be given by Moron. And finally, I will be giving the footwear footprint and footwear certification workshop. So we count on you. See you soon. And thank you so much, all of you. Thank you. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.